colossal storm, armed with gigantic hailstones, tore through Heilongjiang, China, leaving a trail of destruction that no one saw coming. Homes were shattered, cars were battered, and vast stretches of farmland were obliterated in mere moments. Let's dive into this wild weather event and unpack what happened in this icy corner of the world. Heilongjiang, China's northernmost province, is no stranger to extreme weather. This is a place where winters are so harsh they could star in a post-apocalyptic movie. Think sub-zero temperatures, blizzards that bury towns, and months where the world seems locked in ice. But what happened on September 3rd, 2025, was a whole different beast. A freak summer storm, packing hurricane-force winds and hail the size of golf balls, turned this region upside down. Honestly, it's like Mother Nature decided to throw a tantrum in the middle of summer, and Heilongjiang was caught in the crossfire. The chaos kicked off without warning. On a seemingly normal afternoon, the skies over cities like Harbin, Qiqihar, and Mudanjiang darkened faster than you can say, storm warning. By 5 p.m. in Qiqihar, it was like someone flipped off the sun. The daylight vanished, replaced by an eerie, apocalyptic gloom. Residents were left stunned as the storm unleashed its fury, howling winds strong enough to peel roofs off houses, thunder that shook the ground, and lightning that lit up the sky like a fireworks show gone rogue. And then came the hail. Oh boy, this wasn't your average hail. These were icy projectiles, some as big as eggs, hammering everything in sight. Social media posts from locals painted a vivid picture of the devastation. Videos showed cars with windshields smashed to bits, rooftops looking like they'd been through a war zone, and fields of crops flattened as if a giant had stomped through. It's heartbreaking to think about the farmers who spent months nurturing their crops, only to see them wiped out in minutes. 1 minute, you're planning your harvest. The next, your livelihood is buried under a layer of ice. That's the kind of gut punch this storm delivered. What makes this event so shocking is how rare it is for Heilongjiang to face this kind of summer disaster. This province is built for cold, not for tropical-style tempests. The fact that a storm this intense hit in early September, when people are usually enjoying the last warm days before winter, caught everyone off guard. Meteorologists are still scratching their heads, trying to figure out how this perfect storm came together. Was it a fluke? A sign of changing weather patterns? Whatever the cause, it's a stark reminder that nature doesn't play by our rules. Imagine a city caught in the grip of nature's wrath. Winds so fierce they seem to scream with rage. Gale force gusts tore through the urban landscape, powerful enough to rip ancient oaks from their roots, toss vehicles like toys, and shred massive advertising boards into scraps. Think about it, those billboards we pass every day, sturdy and towering, reduced to confetti in seconds. That's the kind of power we're talking about here. Debris like street signs and branches became airborne missiles, forcing people to duck and dive for safety. The air was filled with a deafening roar, snapping timber, screeching metal, and the relentless howl of the storm itself. It was the kind of sound that makes your heart race, a reminder of how small we are against nature's might. Then, as if the winds weren't enough, the sky unleashed a new terror, a hailstorm. Now, I've seen hail before, but this was something else. Tiny ice pellets, no bigger than a thumbnail at first, soon swelled to the size of golf balls, pummeling everything in sight. They smashed into cars, denting hoods and cracking windshields like they were made of sugar glass. Roofs, especially those flimsy corrugated ones, were perforated like Swiss cheese. Picture this. You're inside your home, and suddenly it sounds like a rock concert for drums is happening on your roof. The noise was overwhelming, a relentless, metallic pounding that echoed through entire neighborhoods. Streets that were once bustling with life were transformed into icy battlegrounds. Layers of hail piled up, turning roads into slippery, white carpets. Gutters choked on the deluge, unable to cope, and soon floodwaters surged, swallowing sidewalks and creeping into homes. This is where you realize how quickly a city can go from normal to chaos. Drainage systems just weren't built for this kind of assault. In the nearby city of Beishan, the chaos reached another level. Thunder rumbled like an angry giant, shaking the ground with every boom. Lightning streaked across the sky, illuminating the streets in eerie flashes, casting shadows that made everything feel apocalyptic. It's like something out of a disaster movie, except this was real, and people were terrified. Residents scrambled for cover, crowding into shops, subway stations, and any building that offered protection. Rain fell in sheets, as if the clouds had been sliced open, while hail hammered glass windows with such force that entire structures seemed to tremble. Imagine being in one of those buildings, hearing the glass creak and wondering if it's going to hold. That's the kind of fear this storm brought. This storm wasn't just weather, it was a wake-up call. It showed us how quickly nature can turn our world upside down, leaving us to pick up the pieces. If you've ever been through a storm like this, drop a comment below and tell us your story. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of nature's incredible power. In the rural outskirts, farmers stood powerless, watching as a ferocious storm tore through their orchards. In mere minutes, the relentless winds and hail reduced their carefully tended trees to ruins. Scattered across the ground were young fruits, torn leaves, and splintered branches, forming chaotic heaps. Years of patient labor were obliterated in under an hour, leaving behind a heartbreaking scene of loss. In the city, the storm's fury was captured in viral footage shared widely online. Powerful gusts ripped through streets, toppling massive trees onto roads and forcing drivers to abandon their vehicles as floodwaters poured in. Within an hour, streets became torrents, carrying debris like broken branches, roof tiles, and other wreckage torn loose by the storm's wrath. The city, unprepared for such a deluge, was thrown into disarray. In Harbin, the vibrant heart of Heilongjiang's politics, culture, and economy, the disaster struck with stunning force. Known for enduring harsh winters, the city was caught off guard by a summer hailstorm of unprecedented intensity. Residents described hail falling so densely that narrow streets shimmered like frozen rivers under streetlights, mimicking a winter scene in the height of summer. The surreal transformation left the city stunned. Traffic came to a standstill, with cars stranded and hazard lights flashing in desperation. Bus stations and train terminals closed temporarily to clear thick layers of ice, while the airport halted flights as runways became treacherous. The most profound losses were felt in the suburbs and farmlands. Greenhouses, made of fragile plastic, were riddled with holes from the hail. Tender seedlings and leafy crops were shredded beyond recovery. Farmers stood in their ruined fields, staring in disbelief as their vegetable plots and orchards of apples and pears were reduced to nothing. Young fruits lay scattered in heaps, a stark symbol of a lost harvest. Many farmers broke down in tears, their livelihoods erased in minutes. The storm had not only destroyed their crops but also their hopes for the year, leaving them to face an uncertain future. Small farming families, dependent on just a handful of fields, were left devastated by the storm's wrath. Here, we shift to the response efforts, showing the urgency and chaos. This helps viewers feel the intensity of the situation as first responders race against time. By focusing on the actions of firefighters and medics, we humanize the response, showing real people stepping up in a crisis. It adds a layer of heroism for the audience. This detail connects viewers to the personal toll, making the injuries feel tangible and the danger immediate. It grounds the narrative in human experience. Rescue teams worked tirelessly, clearing fallen trees and debris-strewn roads to ensure ambulances could reach isolated communities. At 4:24 p.m., they issued a moderate hail alert, severely underestimating the storm's ferocity. The National Weather Authority later escalated the alert to a severe wind warning, noting gusts surpassing force 10, with some reaching force 12, alongside destructive hail. By the time updated warnings were issued, much of the region had already been battered beyond recognition. As night fell on September 3rd, Heilongjiang was swallowed by an eerie darkness. A ferocious storm unleashed chaos, with lightning bolts relentlessly striking the region, snapping power lines like brittle twigs. The result? Widespread blackouts that left entire communities in the dark. It's hard to imagine the unease of sitting in pitch-black homes, with only the sound of nature's fury outside. Storms like these remind us how vulnerable we are to the raw power of the elements. The sky was alive with unrelenting thunder, each boom shaking the ground, while jagged streaks of lightning illuminated the night in brief, terrifying flashes. Winds screamed through the streets, rattling windows and slipping through cracks in walls. You can almost picture residents clutching their families, wondering if their homes would hold against such a relentless onslaught. It's the kind of night that leaves a lasting mark on a community. Residents of Heilongjiang later shared stories of fear, many saying they'd never experienced a storm so intense. And who can blame them? When nature turns that wild, it's a humbling experience, forcing you to confront just how small we are in the face of it. By the morning of September 4th, the devastation was clear. Local reports painted a grim picture. The storm, accompanied by massive hailstones, had ravaged the region. Thousands of homes were damaged, with roofs caved in and walls battered. Hundreds of cars were left dented or completely totaled, their windshields shattered by hail the size of golf balls. Farmlands, critical to the region's livelihood, were decimated, with crops flattened under the onslaught. This kind of destruction doesn't just hit property. It hits people's lives, their sense of security, and their hopes for the future. Imagine waking up to see your livelihood in ruins. Entire neighborhoods looked like war zones, with uprooted trees blocking roads and debris scattered across yards. Cracked walls and broken windows told the story of a storm that spared little. It's heartbreaking to think of families surveying the wreckage, trying to piece together what's left. Moments like these show how quickly life can change overnight. Insurance companies were swamped almost immediately as residents flooded them with claims. People scrambled to photograph every bit of damage: smashed vehicles, broken windows, and torn apart roofs, hoping for some financial relief to rebuild. You can feel the desperation in that rush, can't you? It's not just about replacing things. It's about reclaiming a sense of normalcy after such a catastrophic event. The massive hailstones that pummeled Heilongjiang left a trail of destruction, wiping out homes, vehicles, and crops in their path. Nature doesn't discriminate. It hits hard and moves on, leaving us to pick up the pieces. This storm is a stark reminder of why we need to stay prepared and resilient in the face of unpredictable weather.